Rabbi Bart, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Let's start from the beginning. Sorry about that. So again, we were speaking about how despite the fact that there was the Tzimtzum, and despite the fact that there was the level of Malchus and the Malachim called Sandal and Matat, the Sandal, the Shechina, that should come from the level of Bleagwul, so there should be able to be limited worlds come into being. Still in all, the infinite aspect of the Ein Sof impacts and affects even down into our world. And that's how we find that in the worlds there are the multiplicity of creations and the greatness and the big size of the creations. This is all a result of the level of the Ein Sof coming down, even though there was the spheres, even though there was the Tzimtzum, even though there was Malchus and so on. So now the Rebbe is going to elaborate upon that. Page view test, line 14. The idea behind this is, like the Rebbe Marash explains at length, in the continuation of our modern title, starting with a mimer called Maim Rabim, on the pasuk where it says, raise up upon high your eyes, and see who created these. And the pasuk continues, he brings out in number their hosts. This is also that we refer to in the Maimer on Parsha Shmois, that the Eibishter brings out the stars and the hosts of heaven by number, from their great strength and power. None is missing, meaning not a single one of the stars and the Tzva Hashemayim, the heavenly bodies, are such that have ceased, which indicates, like we'll soon explain, a concept of Bleagvul, a concept of the infinite. So he's saying in line 18, so one has to raise up their eyes upon high and look at this. This is the meditation that's demanded from every single Yid. When a person meditates upon this, he comes to the idea and the recognition and the understanding that the Shema Rosh the Rosh Tevis of the word Shema is raise up your eyes upon high. In other words, that this is connected with Shema. By raising your eyes upon high, you reach this level of the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. What's the intention? What's the meaning of Havaya Echad over here? That through that a person will arrive to the level of Havaya, to the oneness of Hashem, the way it's in the ultimate level of the highest level, the way it's you are one. As we explained earlier in the Maimer, that there's the level of Antuchad V'loy B'chushban, you are one without number, beyond number. And we said this is similar to what it says in the Lashon, that even though there might be one candle, when you look around the room, you see lights all over the place. But then when you try to figure out where those lights are coming from, you see only the oneness of the candle. In the similar vein that I was going to explain, that even though we're seeing an infinite amount of multiplicity and power and strength and an infinite power of Hashem in the worlds, along with that, we find the idea of we can trace it back and reach Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We can reach the oneness of Hashem, the way Hashem is one in such a way it's beyond the multiplicity that it leads to. Let's see it inside. Line 24, seemingly a movement is not understood. How does a person arrive to this? Through raising up upon high his eyes. Marash explains in his Maimer concerning this, through raising up upon high your eyes, that's the meditation in the hosts of heaven. Concerning them, it says, how great are your actions, how great are your creations, meaning the greatness of creations, not so much the multiplicity, but the greatness that they are unbelievable, including the fact that they are also strong as they were initially created. That is mainly the hosts of heaven. From this, he comes to a proof that also the hosts of the earth, that they do not have the quality of the hosts of heaven. The hosts of heaven, the constellations, the stars, the moon, etc., etc. These are things that are existing. The very same body that was there, that was created, is existing now. But the tzva ha'aretz, the hosts of the earth, they are not kayamim be'ish. They are what's called kayamim b'min. The species exist. The species of man, the species of animal, the species of birds. These are things that go on continuously existing, which is also a matter of the infinite. But still in all, even though they are not kayamim be'ish, top of page chav, rak b'min, only in species. Therefore, concerning the hosts of the earth, it doesn't say the term how great you are, because they're not so great. They're not so powerful. The sign of how not so powerful they are is because they expire after a while, as opposed to the hosts of heaven, as opposed to the constellations above. These are things that remain be'ish. These are the actual bodies remain, so we can call them great. We can call them by the term magod l'masef. We don't just refer to their multiplicity, to their, if you will, quantity, but we refer to their quality. Hine gam bohem, also in the tzva ha'aretz, also in those that are not so great. Quantitatively, but only qualitatively, they are many. So in them, there's also inyan habligvul, there's the idea of bligvul. Va'ad bligvul b'poil, until not just a potential for bligvul, but actual bligvul, as the Maimer will go on to explain. Line 3. The idea behind this is if it would have been the will of the creator, that the world should exist to no end. So then it would have been the drawing down and the exiting of creations from the earth. What's it mean, the exiting of the creations from the earth? Because that's where all creation came from. It came out of the earth, like it says, Eretz Mimenu Yetze. The land from it comes out. It says a different place that everything came from the earth. So then, if Hashem would have desired it to be so, then it was been Nimshechas, but would have come out in a way of being without a boundary, without an end, just like the Tzva Shemayim is, just like the host of heavens. Since from this earth would have come out creatures in a way without a boundary, so therefore we must say that's enclosed in it a power that's without end, without boundary. But that power, the way it's in the earth, is only potential. This is only here in a state of potential, invested and embedded in the earth, and not in actuality. In every moment we can count and find things that have a measure and have a boundary. So we find that it's not actually limited, actually unlimited. It's only the potential for unlimited, that if Hashem chose, the earth would have brought out unlimited amount of things. In addition to this, in addition to the bligvul bekoyach, to the potential for bligvul, there's also actual bligvul, also actual infinite. Like it's obvious from this itself. The bligvul bekoyach, the very fact that there's a potential for bligvul. So he explains by trying to figure out what this potential bligvul is. He says, in the movement, seemingly it's not understood. How is it possible, even a potential for something that's unbounded and without limitations? It's known. We know that something that's without boundary cannot come enclosed in something that is bounded and limited. Just like you cannot put into something small, something that's bigger than it. For sure, in something that has a boundary and limitations, you cannot put in something that has no boundary and no limitations. If you want to tell me that the entire creation is totally bounded from all sides and in all ways, meaning it cannot become enclosed in it an unbounded power, not just but in actuality, it would not be able to be an unbounded and unlimited power. Even in a potential, would not be able to come down into the infinite. Since it was enclosed in the creation, a power that's not that's without boundary, it must come out also in actuality. That we, like the Rebbe Marash explains, that we see that this power of even a potential bligvul, a potential unbounded and unlimited, comes down in actuality in the created beings. If the power of the maker in the thing that's made would only be a power of a bounded power, a limited power, not an infinite power. And what would have remained in the potential would have been only infinite, but the infinite power of Hashem would not come out in actuality. Then there would have to be a difference in the creations between the days that they were created during the 6 days of creation versus the days following. So the Maimon is going to explain what he means by the Isa B'Yishalmi al Pasuk. It's brought down the Yerushalmi on the Pasuk. Elu todos Shemaim v'Aretz B'Yibaram B'Yom Hibaram. The Chazal want to know. The Yerushalmi wants to know, why does it say this is the birth? In other words, the history of the heavens and the earth. Bihibaram. What does the word Bihibaram come to tell us? And there's different Amar Chazal that darsh the word Bihibaram. So the Yerushalmi explains Ki Yom Hibaram, like the day they were created. Hainu Shem Chazakim Ki Yom Hibaram. They are as strong as the day of their creation. Meaning that the creations have the same power and strength that they had at the day that they were created, without any change whatsoever. That is the idea of the everlasting nature that is embedded in the creation. But this is recognizable that the unbounded power comes out in the creations, also in actuality. So creation in general, not just the hosts of heaven, but even the earth itself is not any weaker. It's not that the earth somehow is growing less after 6,000 years of use, or people are not able to procreate as much as they were able to 6,000 years ago, or that animals do not have the same strength as they did 2,000 years ago, etc. The entire creation is as strong now as it was when it was first created. That is only a result of an infinite power. Only because there's an infinite power is there no degradation, is there no lessening, is there no weakening over time. Because anything normally has to become weakened over time, but the creation as a whole is not weakened over time. That shows the power of the infinite. So now the Rebbe challenges this and says as follows, line 7 on page Chafal. Yet, seemingly we could say, the idea that they are as strong as the day when they were created, it's not a proof for the infinite power, the unbounded power becoming enclosed in creation. Even without this, we would be able to say that you know why they're as strong as the day of the creation? Since the creation is taking place every moment anew, so there's no reason why the world would degrade. There's no reason why the world would weaken, because this moment the world is being created from anew, just like it was created 6,000 years ago. Like it says in the Pasuk, that your words are constantly set in the heavens, like the Alter Rebbe explains at length in Tanya, that the creation is an ongoing process. And that's why it doesn't degrade, not because of the power of infinite in creation. So the Rebbe says a very interesting point. It's not always that emphasized or that clear, but the Rebbe makes a distinction. Even though we say that creation takes place every moment, it's still not the same. It's not the identical creation that took place 5,782 years ago. It's a different type of creation that we're saying that's repeating itself now. Line 13, the idea behind this is there must be a difference between the power of the doer in the thing that's done. In other words, the power of the Eibishter in the creation, the way it was in the 6 days of creation, to the renewal of what was in a long time ago, like that, the way it is following that. In other words, Chassidus and other Mamarim says that the fact that the Eibishter, quote unquote, recreates the world every moment, it's not totally creation from new. It's something called Chidush HaYeshanos. It is renewing the old. How do you know that it's different? Perhaps it's identical, completely the same. So the Rebbe says in line 16, that they asked Rabbi Yossi, this was a rhetorical question, that they opened up the conversation with him and asked him, how many days did it take for the Eibishter to create his world? So Rabbi Yossi told them 6 days it took. So then they asked him, this was the lead-in question. They asked him the real question they were going to ask. So if so, what is he doing since then? So Rabbi Yossi answered, Hashem is sitting and putting together couples, making shidduchim. So now the Rebbe says a very simple proof from this, that we must say that there's a difference between the creation that took place during the first 6 days of creation and everything is being recreated now. If we want to say that the effect of the renewal of what was once upon a time is like at the beginning of the creation, so the entire rhetorical question, or the entire question that followed the rhetorical question, doesn't apply. What do you mean, what's he doing now? He's doing the same thing he was doing then. If you're saying that the creation, that the Eibishter is recreating the world every moment, is identical to what he did during the 6 days. So what do you mean, what's he doing now? He's doing the same thing he did during the 6 days. This is proof from the fact that there is such a question. And the answer does not say, oh, he's doing the same thing. The renewal of that which was old is not the same way like the Hamshacha that took place during the 6 days of creation. Until it's possible to be on top of Peish Chafei Beis has askus acheres she'ein nabriya. Hashem could be involved now in a different job, if you will, which is not part and not related to creation. He's busy putting together couples. So now leading this back to what we're trying to explain. Since all the creations are as strong as the day of creation, like the 6 days of creation, though there's a difference between the recreation now and the creation initially, from this, it's proven that the way how the doer is involved in the thing that's being done, how the Eibishter's power is enclosed in this world, is in the way of actual Bligvul, not just potential, but actual Bligvul, and that's why we are as strong now, creation is as strong now as it was 57, 82 years ago. This is the point that he's trying to bring out the whole time. That the idea of Bligvul, despite its symptom, despite Malchus Datzilis, despite the Malachim of the sandal of the Shechina and so on, still in all, that Bligvul comes down in the Shemayim and Oretz, that Shem Lachar Tzimtzum, that followed the Tzimtzum, the Gam Lachar El Matzilis, and they followed after the world of Atzilis. Still in all, Hashem's Bligvul comes down, Ba'olam is Bri Yitzira Asiyah, they come down into the worlds of Bri Yitzira Asiyah, Va'ad Lamata B'tachos, until totally down here below, in our physical world down here. So this is all a further elaboration of the idea of Eir Ein Sof Lamata Mata Den Tachlis, how the infinite light of Hashem reaches down below to no end, because we see the infinite also in this world. We see the power of the infinite also here in this world. Any questions? Okay, further on page Chav Beis, second paragraph, line 9. Messiah Basi, and an Oisid Beis of the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer, he concludes, Shekol Zehu, why does this all take place? Why does the Eir Ein Sof reach down so far below? Even to come down and trickle down into our physical world is the Fisha Eir Ein Sof obliquevol, because the light is without end and without boundary. Like it explains at the beginning of Oisid Beis, the whole reason why the light is infinite is because it's similar to the luminary, like was explained previously in our Maimer, since the light is similar to the luminary, therefore is completely without measure and without boundary completely, because there is nothing. Just like the luminary has no boundary, the same thing, it manifests itself as well in the light. Even that the light embodies and contains in it and channels that part of Hashem's essence that has no prior cause, and therefore it's able to create something that believes itself to not have a prior cause. Like the Rebbe Rashab explains at length in the Hemshech known as Yom Tov Shiroshan of the year Tafri Samach Vav, She'inyan the Eir Ein Sof who still the title, the phrase Eir Ein Sof is really contradictory. Why? Why is it an oxymoron? Why is it a contradictory phrase? What does it mean, light? The very term light means it's not the thing itself. It's a revelation of it. It's only a ray. Therefore, it's not truly possible to say about it the true definition of being infinite. So he's now going to explain what that means. You could say that it expands to no end. The light's expansion has no limitation. It could reach very far and everywhere and so on. But since it's light, and light is derived from the luminary, so there must be the other end, if you will. Not the furthest end, but the initial end. In other words, the beginning. That's another end. There's two ends to everything, the top and the bottom. So the bottom, there is no end, but since the beginning comes from somewhere, so that does have an end. So how can you say it's Ein Sof? What is the end at the beginning? It's like we've been saying before as well. The Eir has a cause that preceded it, because the light comes from the luminary. Like it's in the language of the Mekubal, called the concerning the idea of name that we said before. If you remember earlier in the Maimer, he said that name and light are really the same concept according to Chassidus and Kabbalah. So the Rameh Pano says, Shebal Hashem Kodam L'Shem. The one who possesses the name precedes the name. So the name is something that has a beginning. What's the beginning of the name? The one who has the name. So therefore, the Eir has a beginning, and that is the Ma'ir. Therefore, it negates the idea that it has the beginning. I'm sorry, line 25. I skipped a line. Along with the fact that we said that the Eir must have a beginning because it comes from the Ma'ir. Since the Eir is not just, it's coming from the Ma'ir, but we've been saying the whole time that the Eir is similar to the Ma'ir, similar to the luminary. Because of that, it's negated in it the fact that we're saying that it has a beginning, because we said that even the oir, since it's similar to the ma'or, it's also has and possesses in it that characteristic of the ma'or, that the ma'or has no beginning. So the oir has that incorporated in it because it's similar to the ma'or. Because it incorporates within it that characteristic of the ma'or, just like the ma'or, just like the luminary has no beginning, so too the oir contains that as well. And that's why the oir can create something that believes itself to have no beginning. It can create the yesh. So seemingly it's contradictory. You're saying on the one hand, it has no end to its expansion, but it must have a beginning, which is the ma'or. On the other hand, you're saying that because it's similar to the ma'or, it has to have that characteristic in it of not having a beginning. So how do we reconcile the two? So the Rebbe Rashab in Tafish Samach Vav explains, in Mavur Sham, it's explained over there in Tafish Samach Vav, top of page Chav Gimel, Baruch, it's explained at length. True. The light, because of itself and in and of itself, it's only a light and it's only a ray, which means it has a beginning. And even higher than the way it's only a ray. The way it's only called a name. There's an even higher level of the oir, which is called yicholos lahoyer. It's not even an oir yet. It's only the capability and the potential to illuminate. So that also, it's only like an oir. It's only like ha'ara. And therefore, it has that lack that it's only ein sof lispashtusoi, but it does have a beginning. The other end, the top end, does have an end. Still in all, aval be choyla and this potential of the oir, yeshlam kol ha'inyanim sheba'atzmus. It already contains in it. It's transmitted in it and contains in it all the matters that be found in Hashem's essence. Because when we talk about the capability to Hashem's essence, it's impossible to separate between the two. Hashem's essence is like one with his capability to have and manifest anything, which is the capability for Oir. Oir is the means through which he manifests everything. Therefore, also the Oir has in it the true idea of without number that we spoke about, that without number means it is, one of the explanations is that it's beyond count, that it's impossible to give it a number. The lack of measure and boundary, not just in the idea that it has no end, even the idea that it has no beginning, he has no cause and prior cause for this, and therefore, because it has that inside of him, therefore there could be through the oil, the creation, that the feeling of the created beings is it has no beginning. In addition to the fact that it spreads out down here below in a way of being spread out and expansive without an end, it also contains and is brought into it because of its connection with the Atzmos, that level of the level of Ein Lo Tchila that's to be found in Hashem's essence. Any questions?